You ever hear a sound so satisfying, it's like music? For me, it was the sound of my roommate, Kevin, wailing in agony from behind a locked bathroom door at 2 in the morning. It was the symphony of justice, and it was all because he finally ate a meal I had truly prepared just for him. If you know the feeling of being pushed too far, of that burning need for someone to finally get what they deserve, you're in the right place. Welcome to a story about the finest meal I ever cooked. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell because we serve up stories of perfect poetic justice right here. Don't forget to like this video. Let's get into it. Grad school is supposed to be hard because of the classes, the all-nighters spent studying, the dense academic texts, the pressure to perform. It's not supposed to be hard because of the one person who's supposed to be sharing your living space. Enter Kevin. On paper, he was fine, a 28-year-old guy in a similar program. In reality, he was a vortex of disrespect. His default volume was shout, especially after 11 p.m., when he'd get home and decide it was the perfect time to blast music and recount his entire night to someone on speakerphone. The common area looked like a hurricane had personally targeted his dirty laundry and takeout containers. But that wasn't the real problem. Annoying? Yes, but manageable. You can buy headphones. You can avoid the living room. The real violation, the thing that chipped away at my sanity piece by piece, was the theft. It started small. A swig of milk left in the carton, an egg or two from the dozen I'd just bought, a handful of chips from the bag. I'd tell myself, maybe he just made a mistake. So I started writing my name on everything. Sharpie, all caps, on every container, every bottle, every bag. The labels didn't stop him. They just became a challenge. I remember the first major loss. It was a Sunday. I'd spent 3 hours meal prepping, roasted vegetables, quinoa, and a beautiful herb-marinated grilled chicken. I divided it all into 5 neat, labeled containers. It was my fuel for the week, my plan for success, a small piece of control in a chaotic life. By Tuesday, 3 of them were gone. I felt a hot flush of disbelief. I opened the fridge over and over as if the containers would magically reappear. They didn't. That night, I saw one of my containers, now empty, sitting in the sink. He hadn't even bothered to wash it. I confronted him. "Kevin, did you eat my chicken?" He didn't even look up from his phone. "Oh yeah, sorry man, I was starving. I'll replace it." He never did. The "I'll replace it" became his empty mantra, a lie so flimsy it was an insult in itself. The audacity grew. A whole block of expensive cheese vanished, the last of my coffee grounds gone, and then the final straw, my lasagna. My grandmother's recipe, layers of pasta, homemade meat sauce, and 3 different cheeses. I'd made 2 portions, one for that night, one for the next day. I came home after a brutal late class dreaming of that cheesy, comforting goodness. I opened the fridge. It was gone. And then I heard the microwave beep. I walked into the kitchen. There he was, my glass container in his hand, steaming with my lasagna. He saw me, and he didn't look apologetic. He looked amused. A slow, smug smirk spread across his face. "Relax," he said, blowing on a fork full of my grandmother's recipe. "You've got plenty." Plenty. The word echoed in my head. I didn't have plenty. I had nothing. He had taken my food, my time, my effort, my comfort, and now he was mocking me for caring. My heart hammered against my ribs, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tip that container of scalding pasta right into his smug lap. But I didn't. I just stood there, paralyzed by a fury so pure it felt like static in my veins. I went to the landlord. His response was a masterclass in indifference. Unless he's threatening you and not paying rent, it's a roommate issue. You guys need to work it out. I was trapped. I felt so powerless. It was more than just food. It was a complete disregard for my boundaries, for me as a person. I was just a resource to him, a convenience. That's when the shift happened. The white-hot anger cooled into something else, something cold, precise, and determined. If he saw me as a pushover, a convenience, I would become a consequence. And I knew exactly how to deliver that consequence. My aunt is from Trinidad. She's a wonderful, fiery woman who believes food should have personality. Once, she'd given me a small, unassuming bottle of her homemade hot sauce. She handed it to me with a serious look. "This is not for the faint of heart, baby. 1 drop. You hear me? 1 drop."
I'd tried it. She wasn't joking. It wasn't just spicy. It was an experience. It started as a deep, almost fruity flavor, then built into a searing, volcanic heat that seemed to target every single taste bud individually before launching a full-scale assault on your entire nervous system. I kept it hidden in the back of my cupboard, a culinary nuclear option. Now, it was time to launch. The plan was simple. It required patience, theatrics. That Sunday, I cooked. I made a huge tray of beautiful, plump, crispy chicken wings. The aroma of garlic, paprika, and herbs filled the apartment. It was a lure. Then I got out the bottle. I didn't just coat them. I marinated them in that liquid magma. I'd tossed them until they glistened a dangerous, deep red. I placed them in a clear container. And then, the pièce de résistance. I took a piece of paper and wrote in large, clear letters, "Do not eat. Seriously, too spicy for most people." It wasn't a warning. It was a challenge, a dare. For a guy like Kevin who respected nothing, a warning was an invitation. I put the container right in the center of the fridge, a shining beacon of temptation. Then I left for the day. I went to a coffee shop and waited. The entire day my stomach was a knot of nervous anticipation. Was it working? Would he fall for it? I came home that evening. I walked to the fridge, my hand almost trembling as I opened the door. It was gone. The entire tray. Every last wing. A cold, calm satisfaction washed over me. The trap had been sprung. I went to my room and waited. The hours ticked by. 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight, silence. Then 1:17 a.m. A door creaked open down the hall, then a low, guttural groan. It was the sound of a wounded animal. This was followed by a frantic, heavy-footed thumping down the hallway. The bathroom door didn't just close, it slammed shut with a force that shook the pictures on my wall. And then the symphony began. It started with a deep, painful retching, then a high-pitched, pathetic wail. It was the sound of pure, unadulterated regret. The toilet flushed again and again, a desperate attempt to drown out the evidence of his mistake. But the sounds, the groans, the moans, the sound of a man truly meeting his maker, they seeped through the walls. He was in there for over an hour. I lay in my bed,
not with malice, but with a profound, quiet sense of justice. The next morning I emerged from my room. He was sitting at the kitchen table, a ghost of his former self. His face was pale and waxy. His eyes were bloodshot, swimming in a sea of red. He was clutching a full bottle of milk, like it was the only thing tethering him to this world. He looked at me. There was no smirk, no arrogance, just the hollow, shell-shocked look of a man who had stared into the abyss, and the abyss had been coated in Trinidad scorpion pepper sauce. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. His entire being was an apology. The message had been received, loud and clear. He never, ever touched my food again, not a crumb. He'd even flinched slightly when he saw me taking something out of the fridge. A week later, he announced he was moving out. He told our other roommate the vibe was toxic. I couldn't help but smile. The vibe had been toxic, but I was just the chef. He was the one who chose to consume it.
Sometimes people don't learn from words. They don't learn from complaints or arguments. They only understand consequences. They only learn from experience. And his experience was a very, very hot one. He thought he was stealing a free meal, but in the end, he paid for every single one. If you enjoyed this story of delicious, well-seasoned justice, do the algorithm a favor and hit that like button. It helps more than you know. Let me know in the comments, what's the most creative revenge you've ever witnessed or heard of? Subscribe for more stories where the underdog fights back. Thanks for watching.